Hello class, this is lesson 2.2, creating and solving equations. The learning goal is to write, solve, and interpret linear equations. And we're going to be going through a few examples and some basic equation structures that we're going to be using throughout this lesson. So in this lesson, we're going to be creating equations from verbal descriptions. And many verbal descriptions contain words like initial value and rate of change. And then we also have total value. So one simple way of creating an equation is to write it in this form. The initial value, that's how much something costs at the start, plus the rate of change. Now, rate of change means how much something costs each day, each week, each hour, each year. So there's going to be a variable attached to rate of change. And the total value. What is the total cost? So if you just remember these three items, we could create any kind of equation for any word problem. So for example A plumber charges $40 for taking a house call, plus $50 for each hour he works. On one job, he charges $315. What we want to find is how many hours did he work on the job. Round to your answer to the nearest tenth. So $40 is the initial value. Just for making the house call, he charges $40. Each hour he works at the house is $50. That's the rate of change. And the total amount that he charged was $315. So my equation will be 40 plus 50h, I'm using h for hours, is equal to 315. Now from lesson 1.1, we can solve this equation by using the properties of equality. The first step is to move 40 to the other side. So you're going to subtract 40 here, subtract 40 here, and you're left with 50h. Now 315 minus 40. What is that? That is 275. Next step is to divide both sides by 50. So divide here by 50, divide here by 50. And 275 divided by 50 ends up being 5.5. So h is equal to 5.5. Now, when we solve a problem, especially a word problem, we have to kind of analyze our answer. What does h equals 5.5 mean? Well, this number stands for hours, and the question is, how many hours did he work on this job? So we need to write a sentence answering that question. The plumber worked 5.5 hours. Okay, let's look at another example. Elijah currently has $50. He gets $10 per week for allowance. Elijah is saving up for a new bike, which costs $120. Write and solve an equation to determine the number of weeks that Elijah must save to afford the new bike. So initial value is 50. So let's write that down. He gets $10 per week for his allowance. So we're going to put a plus $10, and I'm going to use W for weeks. And the cost of the bike is $120. So the first step would be to subtract 50 to both sides. I have 10W is equal to 70. Divide both sides by 10. And W is equal to 7. So what does that mean? The question is, determine the number of weeks that Elijah must save to afford the new bike. So to answer this question, Elijah must save for 7 weeks. Okay, next two problems. If you want to pause the video here and try these two problems on your own, and then press play to look at the solution. Marta just started a new job as an engineer. She is given $9,000 sign-on bonus and paid $4,500 per month. Write and solve an equation to determine the number of months that Marta must work before she earns $27,000. So the initial value is 9,000. She earns 4,500 per month, so I'm using M, and the total is 27,000. My first step is to subtract 9,000 from both sides. So you have 4,500 M. Now 27,000 minus 9,000, that ends up being 18,000. And divide both sides by 4,500. And we end up with M being equal to 4. So she needs to work 4 months. So the next part is Tyler can type 50 words per minute. He needs to finish typing his 500-word essay and already has 25 words typed. Write and solve an equation to determine the number of minutes that it will take Tyler to finish writing. So the initial value is 50. Actually, no, I'm sorry. He can type 50 words per minute. Total is 500 words, and he already typed 25. So we're going to have 50 W, so 50 words per minute. Actually, let me change this to M. 50 M plus 25 words that he already typed is equal to 500. Subtract 25 to both sides. 500 minus 25 is 475. So we have 50M is equal to 475. I'm running out of room here, but I'll do it here. 50M is equal to 475. Divide both sides by 50. So 475 divided by 50 ends up being 9.5. So M is equal to 9.5. So to finish, it will take him 9 minutes and 50, or 9.5 minutes. Okay, so next we're going to be learning about the distributive property using a model, so using a real-world problem. So the distributive property is a property that is used to multiply a number or a variable to other numbers or variables. In this formula, we have a parenthesis b plus c, and what we do is we distribute. We multiply a times b and a times c. A times b is ab, a times c is ac. And we're going to be using this in the next example. Okay, so a patio in the shape of a rectangle is fenced on all sides with 134 feet of fencing. The patio is 5 feet less wide than it is long. Find the length and width of the patio. So this is a rectangle problem. So let me write that here. And you're going to be seeing some of these problems in your homework and on the test. For the rectangle problems, we're going to be using the perimeter formula. So first, always try to draw a rectangle. Remember that in the rectangle you have the length and you have the width. And to find the perimeter of a rectangle, you add up all the sides. And a formula that is used for perimeter is P is equal to 2W plus 2L. The perimeter is equal to 2 times the width plus 2 times the length. Okay, so we know the perimeter is 134. So I'm going to write that on the side. P is 134. Then they also tell us the patio is 5 feet less wide than it is long. So I'm going to say L, or the length, is L. And I'm going to say the width is 5 feet less wide. Actually, no, I made a mistake. Sorry. We're going to say the width is W. So width stands for W. We don't know what the length is, but we know the length is 5 feet less wide. So we're going to use W minus 5. So when plugging in everything into this formula, we have 134 is equal to 2W plus 2 times W minus 5. So I substituted L for W minus 5. W stays alone. Right here, you're going to distribute 2 times W and 2 times negative 5. So you have 134 is equal to 2W plus 2W minus 10. 2W plus 2W, these are like terms, you could combine them. So that is 4W. So you could subtract, or I'm sorry, you could add 10 to both sides. And you end up with 144 is equal to 4W. Divide both sides by 4. And W is equal to 36. So the width is 36. Now to find the length, we have to subtract 5 from the, or subtract 5, and we end up with 31. So width is 36, length is 31. Okay, so in this next part, this is where you could pause the video and you could work on these problems on your own. And you're practicing the distributive property. So we're distributing the number on the outside of the parenthesis to the number on the inside of the parenthesis. I'm just gonna do a few for you guys. Maybe I'll do problem number 3, and I'll do problem number 6. So for problem number 3, you want to distribute 2 here. Negative 2 times 3y is negative 6y. Negative 2 times negative 5 is positive 10. Then you're going to subtract 10 to both sides. And we end up with negative 6y equals 4. And then we divide both sides by negative 6. And I'm running out of room here, but I'm just going to do it over here. Y is equal to negative 4 over 6. And we could reduce this fraction by dividing by 2. And y is equal to negative 2 over 3. Next, for number 6, you want to distribute 3/4 to both of these. And when you're distributing a fraction to a coefficient, you could write it as 3 over 4 times 4m minus 12 times 3 over 4. So what you do is you multiply 3 times 4, which is 12, divided by 4, and that's 3m. Negative 12 times 3 is negative 36, and negative 36 divided by 4 is negative 9. So you end up with 3m minus 9 equals 12. So you would add 9 to both sides, and you have 3m is equal to 21. Divide both sides by 3, and m is equal to 7. Okay, next we have the perimeter problem. So let me start with the formula as P is equal to 2W plus 2L. Now, L is W plus 8. And P is 256. So the rectangular garden is fenced on all sides with 256 feet of fencing. The garden is 8 feet longer than it is wide. Find the length and width of the garden. Plug in the values, and you have 256 is equal to 2W plus 2 times W plus 8. Distribute 2, and you have 256 is equal to 2W plus 2W plus 16. And that is 256 is equal to 4W plus 16. Subtract 16 to both sides. 256 minus 16 is 240. So I'm going to do it over here. 240 is equal to 4W. Divide both sides by 4. And we end up with 60 is equal to W. So now, if you know the width is 60, then what would the length be if it's W plus 8? So the length would be 60 plus 8, which is 68. Okay, and then you're given some problems where you have to check the correct property that is used for the given problem. So if you're given a problem, 0.10 times m plus 1,000 is equal to 3,000 plus 3,000. Going from the given to step 1, what did you do? So 3,000 plus 3,000 is 6,000, so you combine like terms. Next, going from this step 1 to step 2, it looks like they distributed 0.1, so I'm going to say distributed. Going from step 2 to step 3, so what happened to the 100? It was moved to this side, and it was moved by subtraction. And then step 3 to step 4, how do you move the 0.10 to the other side? You have to divide. Okay, for problem number 9, you have this equation, 80 equals 2L plus 2L minus 8. Again, we are given the equation. What was the first step going from the given to step 1? It looks like the 2 was distributed to the L and the 8, so that is distributed property. And then from step 1 to step 2, 2L plus 2L is 4L, and that is combining like terms. Then moving the negative 16 to the other side, you add 16, and that is addition property. And last part is dividing both sides by 4, so that's the division property. Okay, the next part of this lesson is creating and solving equations with variables on both sides. So in this equation, notice that you have x on this side and x on the right side. So we have them on both sides. What we want to do is we want to move the variables on the same side and move the numbers on the same side using the properties of equality. So on the side here, I'm going to just write left is equal to the right. Now, on the left side, I want the x, and on the right side, I want the number. So, to move a positive 2x to the left side, I use the subtraction property of equality. Subtract 2x to both sides, and you end up with 5x minus 5 equals positive 25. To move the number to the other side, I have to add 5 to both sides, and I have 5x is equal to 30. Divide both sides by 5, and x is equal to 6. Now, in some equations, like term appear on the same side. And what you can do is use a property called the commutative property, where you could just pair up like terms and combine them by adding or subtracting. So in example B, you have 9b minus 6 is equal to 10 plus 5b plus 8. So these are not like terms, but the 10 and the 8 are like terms, and we could rewrite this part. We could write this as 9b minus 6 is equal to 10 plus 8 plus 5b. So notice that I move the sign with the 8, there's a plus sign in front of the 8. That goes with the number. 10 plus 8 is 18. So you have 9b minus 6 is equal to 18 plus 5b. Now, if I want to move the b's to the left side, I would need to move 5b here. So I would subtract 5b to both sides. And I'm left with 4b minus 6 is equal to 18. Add 6 to both sides. And you end up with 4b is equal to 24. Divide both sides by 4. And b is equal to 6. So in the next examples, use these properties to solve these. For problem number 1, you want to move the 3n to the left side. So subtract 3n, subtract 3n. You have 9n minus 4 equals negative 22. Then you want to add 4 to both sides. And what is a negative 22 plus 4? So that is a negative 18. Divide both sides by 9, and n is equal to a negative 2. For number 2, you have a 7b and a 5b. You want to move the variables to the same side, so I'm going to move the 7b to the right side. I'm going to subtract 7b here. So I have 12 is equal to negative 2b, because 5 minus 7 is negative 2. Divide both sides by negative 2, and you get a negative 6 is equal to b. For number 3, we have parentheses. So whenever you see parentheses, that's a sign that you have to distribute. So we have 35 minus x is equal to 3x plus 15. I'm going to move the negative x here by adding x to both sides. So you have 35. Now, what is 3x plus x? Remember that there's an imaginary 1 here. So think of this as 3 apples plus 1 apple. That would give you 4x. Subtract 15 to both sides, and you have 20 is equal to 4x. And now you want to divide both sides by 4. And x is equal to 5. Okay, for problem number 4, we're given this multi-step problem. 12x minus 2 times 9 plus 7x equals 8x plus 2. And we have 6 steps. So what is the first step? And that occurs here. Negative 2 times 9 plus 7x becomes negative 18 minus 14x. This is distributive property. So that is D. Next, we have 12x minus 18 minus 14x, and that was rewritten as 12x minus 14x minus 18. What property allows us to rewrite or to move around terms? That is the commutative property. So that is b. Next, I have 12x minus 14x, that is negative 2x. So what property is that, or what do we do? We combine like terms, so that is A. And now from here, going from step 3 to step 4, we added 2x to both sides. So 2x plus 8x is 10x. So that is the addition property of equality. And then from step 4 to step 5, we subtracted 2 to both sides. So we use subtraction property of equality. Okay, so in the next part, we're going to be talking about the associative property for any three numbers. Tells us that we can rearrange numbers. So let me kind of go through this property. If you group, oh, I'm sorry, you can't see that. If you group A plus B plus C, so notice that A and B are in the parentheses, this is equal to A plus B plus C. So all we're doing is, instead of writing the parentheses around these two, I'm writing the parentheses around these two. You could do this for addition and for multiplication. And the first example is this part here. So let me see if there is something to the back. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just kind of go through the steps of how to solve this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write parentheses around the 7 and the 3. So I have 5x minus 4 is equal to parentheses 7 plus 4 plus 3, close the parenthesis, plus 6x. Now these parentheses, I use them to combine like terms. 7, 4, and 3 are like terms. 7 plus 4 is 11. 11 plus 3 is 14. So this ends up being 14 plus 6x, and then you have 5x minus 4. Now this just becomes a multi-step problem. So I want to subtract 5x here, subtract 5x here, and you end up with negative 4 is equal to 14 plus 1x. Then you want to subtract 14 to both sides, and you get negative 18 is equal to x. Okay, now we're going to kind of skip this part up here, so don't worry about this. And let's look at this here. So determine if the student used distributive property or associative property. So putting parentheses around 3x, is that distributive or associative? That is associative. Going from negative 4 parenthesis x minus 2 to negative 4x plus 8, this is distributive. Going from negative 2 parenthesis negative x plus 1 to 2x minus 2, that is also distributive. Going from 7 times 1/2 times 6 to 7 times parenthesis 1/2 times 6, this is associative. So with distributive, you're actually multiplying. With associative, you're just adding parentheses or moving the parentheses around. Okay, the last part of this lesson is to solve equations with variables on both sides with modeling. So let's go through this one example, and then we'll look at some try it problems on your own, and then you will be done with this lesson. Janine has job offers at 2 companies. Company A offers a starting salary of $28,000 with a raise of $3,000 each year. Company B offers a starting salary of $36,000 with a raise of $2,000 each year. In how many years will Janine's salary be the same with both companies? What will the salary be? So we're going to be doing this in 2 steps. Company A, we have initial value plus rate of change. So for company A, starting salary of $28,000, raise $3,000 each year. So this is $28,000 plus $3,000 each year, so I'm going to use Y. Okay, next, company B. Starting salary of $36,000 with a raise of $2,000 each year. So $36,000 plus $2,000 each year. That's the initial value, that's the rate of change. So what we want to do is we want to set both companies equal to each other. So company A, $28,000 plus $3,000 is equal to company B, which is $36,000 plus $2,000. Let me subtract $2,000 to both sides. So I end up with 28,000 plus 1,000 y is equal to 36,000. Then I want to subtract 28,000 to both sides. And I have 1,000 is equal to 36,000 minus 28,000. What is that? That is 8,000. Sorry, I forgot the y here. So 1,000 y equals 8,000. Divide both sides by 1,000. 8,000 divided by 1,000 is 8. Y is equal to 8. So it will take 8 years for the salary to be the same. That's the first question. And how many years will Janine's salary be the same with both companies? So 8 years. But then what will the salary be? So to find that, we could just use one of these equations or one of these expressions, either company A or company B, and plug in 8 for y. So let me do company A. Let me just plug in 8 in for y. So we have 28,000 plus 3,000 times 8. And let me just type that in. 28,000 plus 3,000 times 8 is 52,000. Okay, well, let's look at these three problems. For number one, Eric claims the solution to the equation is x equals 0.5. Select three correct justifications for the given steps. One is done for you. So going through his work, for going from step 1 to step 2, he combined like terms, so 10x minus 5x. Going from step 2 to step 3, what did he do? It seems like he added 9x to 5x. Or maybe he I'm not sure. Okay, I think there's a typo in this activity. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Let's just select three steps that he did. He actually did do distributive property, so we could check that one off. There is no subtraction property that was used, but there was division property that was used at the end. So that. So for number 2, Zach has earned $200 and earns $20 every week walking his neighbor's dog. John is $100 in debt and earns $25 every week cleaning his neighbor's pool. In how many weeks will both Zach and John be earnings be the same? So our equation is 200 plus 20w is equal to negative 100 plus 25w. And then we just have to select two steps that he did. Going from the given to step 1, what happened? I think 100 was added to both sides, so he used addition property. And then going from step 1 to step 2, it looks like he subtracted 20 to both sides, so that's subtraction property. Okay, and the last example that we're going to go over is about the two companies. So just like the example, two companies, there's a initial value and a rate of change. So Yoga Express charges $30 membership fee and $25 a month. Beginners Yoga charges $80 membership fee and $15 a month. After how many months will the total amount of money be paid to both yoga clubs be the same? And then what will the amount be? So The initial value is 30. The rate of change is 25m for Yoga Express. For beginner yoga, initial value is 80 plus 15m. So I'm not going to show as many steps, but imagine I subtract 15m here to both sides. I get 30 plus 10m equals 80. Then I'm going to subtract 30 to both sides, and I have 10m is equal to 50. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 10, and m is equal to 5. So it will take 5 months for the amount to be the same. But then what is that amount? That's the second question. We're going to pick one of these expressions, so I'll pick the second one. 80 plus 15 times 5. Let me see if I could show you without the glare. So 80 plus 15 times 5, $155. So that completes lesson 2.2. So for your homework, you have these problems, and then you have the checkpoint, lesson 2.2 checkpoint. Thank you.